The third industrial revolution.
So this is the conclusion video of the video series called The Third Industrial Revolution. And to conclude with this video series, we're going to summarise the key points of Jeremy Rifkin's lecture about the Green New Deal. And we're also going to look at what his vision is and whether his vision makes sense for our future. So we know all about the problems that we see in the world. You know, the climate change, the pollution, the inequality, the poverty, the protests, and the ill health that a lot of people have, and mental illness and this type of thing. We've gone through a fossil fuel civilization, and we are at a crossroads. At this crossroads, we know that if we do business as usual, it will lead to climate destruction. However, we also have another option. We have a new economic vision for the world, and it is compelling. 3 new technologies will merge and verge together to create a new infrastructure. This includes communications, energy and transport to better manage, power and move our economic activity. And this changes society. When you have an infrastructure upgrade, the society changes too. The communications internet will merge with renewable energy and driverless autonomous cars to create an Internet of Things platform to massively increase our aggregate efficiency, which is connected to the laws of thermodynamics. So if you want to get more out of your economy, you need to increase the efficiency, and you can do that with these new technologies, as we mentioned, to better manage, power and move all of our economic activities. In addition, existing buildings will be retrofitted with renewables, as well as battery packs, charging stations, and also they will be retrofitted to make them energy efficient and resilient to climate change. Every building will become a node for the Internet of Things platform, and edge data centers will provide the processing power for these devices and for these smart homes. Very high-tech small and medium enterprises that are blockchain cooperatives will keep revenue locally rather than being siphoned off offshore. They will be more agile and they'll be laterally scaled. Due to automation, fixed costs will become ever cheaper and marginal costs will move towards zero. This means very cheap or free goods and services in the future. And we can engage region to region, bypassing nation states. We are moving from markets to networks, from transactions to flows, from buyers and sellers to providers and users, from GDP to quality of life, from productivity to regeneration, and from externalities to circularity. It's a completely different model, and we have to remember that. We will be able to share solar and wind off-grid with friends and neighbours. We are looking at the outcome of a sharing economy. So that's the outcome focus that we have. That's what we're focused on for our long-term future, is to develop a sharing economy. There will be a hybrid model through the transition to this outcome, which will be a part capitalist and part sharing model. This is for the transition period, as it will be part markets and part networks. It will be more circular due to the sharing aspect, and that will also create a lot less waste in the system. We believe the fossil fuel civilization will become secondary to the sharing economy by about 2028 or so. This is because renewables are becoming so cheap, and that also means that there will be $100 trillion in fossil fuel stranded assets. That will be the biggest bubble in history, so watch out for that. Smartphones are also becoming very cheap, and that's part of the communications element of this Internet of Things platform. Renewables and smartphones give power to the people in terms of both energy and processing power, and cars are next. Autonomous car sharing will actually eliminate 80% of the world's vehicles. Can you imagine all of the roads in the towns and cities in which you live, 80% of the vehicles gone because we're sharing instead of owning? All of this will change our infrastructure. We also think 2028 is the year because electric cars by then will be cheaper than internal combustion engines, and renewables will be at about 14% of the global energy market by about 2028 as well. And when it gets to about 14%, a lot of investors will quickly move away from fossil fuels. We will fund all of this in several ways. We need to move our pension funds into green projects and out of fossil fuels. And that accounts for $41 trillion right there. We need to invest in large-scale third industrial revolution infrastructures, which will also create millions of green jobs and thousands of business opportunities for the transition. We can scale all of this at speed with community networks. And we also need governments to provide the codes, the regulations, the standards, the incentives, and the carrots and the sticks, as well as the general alignment towards this direction, with the communities laying it out locally. This is how we can scale at speed. Local areas can create tailored roadmaps for their local areas, and communities have more manpower than national governments. We also need green banks and green bonds. Then the pension and family and institutional funds can invest in these. This is what they're looking for. We need regional assemblies to bring communities together to lay this out. Each local area needs cohorts of all the different ages, all the different nationalities, all the different types of people that you have, whether liberal or conservative, male or female. We need all different cohorts coming together, everyone, all of us coming together to create these local roadmaps for our local transitions. We need to mobilize these communities into disaster mode and create the solidarity towards biosphere consciousness. We also need to look at our eating habits. We need to eat less meat. We also need to change our temporal spatial orientation. And this basically means our perception of time and space. We improve our empathy every time we go through a transition like this. We end up empathizing with a broader social dynamic. And we are currently, however, an endangered species with this climate change, because we share our habitat with all the other animals and as part of the biosphere. But at the moment, climate change will lead to potentially our destruction. We now know that everything has an effect on everything else, but it's also a silver lining, because we now know what we need to do to improve. Lastly, we have to be fearless. We have to be resilient. We need people advocating change, and we need people on these assemblies. We need the younger generation to run for political office. We need to use every tool at our disposal. You need to create smart, cooperative, small and medium enterprises. We need to involve ourselves in civil society. We need to upgrade our infrastructure. We went through the first and second industrial revolutions in 25 to 30 years per revolution, and we can do so again. This can take us to zero carbon. We need to heal the planet. We need to take action.
The third industrial revolution.